Hello everybody, hope you're having a great week. Can't believe it's already been a week. Time has been flying for me. I have some exciting news. Personally, I officially have a seat in a medical school, so I'm very happy about that. I'm still having interviews. I have about 5 more lined up, so we'll see how that goes. The other part, I finally got my passport. 2 months without passport, you feel very unsafe. But personal news aside, today it's good weather-ish, but we don't really have that many people here. More like it hurts a little. So those of you who are sitting in the warmth of your home 5 blocks away, come on, get here. Come on, people. Besides that, thank you for the nice comments in the chat. Besides that, we're going to be talking about some truly cool, non-weird, I don't think that's possible to see me play non-weirdly, but openings, specifically in Sicilian, because that's the video series we're doing. Now that I said that, as soon as I said that, I pictured myself holding like a bow on top of a castle, like in Game of Thrones or something. That's a cool thumbnail. I wanna talk to someone about that. With Pisha like a mini dragon. Okay, but I'm getting too creative. Let's try to stay with chess. Creative writing is not my strongest suit. So today we're gonna talk about Paulsen/Con. I always knew it as Paulsen, but people call it different names. We are not gonna really talk about everything that's there because I don't really play everything that's there. I'm going to talk a lot about the bishop e2 lines, have a very brief mention on bishop d3 lines, but if you are one of those people who enjoys playing long castle, don't let me stop you. But this is not going to be covering the long castle ideas. Alright, let's jump right in. This is a big mix of my personal games, so I hope I don't have to prepare against anybody playing this in the future. Alright. So first things first, there are some weird, starting with a6, starting with knight f6, starting with queen c7, some d6 here. There are a lot of different things that black can do, so don't feel constricted into just one line. You do not have to think of just a6 or just knight f6 or whatnot. We are not going to be covering d6 to anything with like d6, e6 tonight. That's for next week, because that's Scheveningen. Besides that, I do want to briefly mention a6 more towards the end of the class, because that gets weird, and I like to end it weird. So let's just go for knight c6. Now, keep in mind, these knight f6 do exist, but this is what we talked about last week, so feel free to give a look to the Sicilian 4-knight ideas that we talked about last week. We talked about, possible knight b5s, bishop out, a3, blah blah. It's kind of cool actually, I really liked it. Wait, was that last week? That was last week, yes, Sicilian 4-knight. We're going to talk about queen c7 mostly now. To be fair, there are knight f6, but then you might get e5s at some point. Not right now, because there is a unfortunate check, but there are, like, if black plays it weird, there are stuff like this, so just be mindful of if you get the chance to play e5 as white. Alright, so knight c6, knight out, queen out, bishop moves. I've missed this mouse. Alright, it's very smooth. It's gonna make me give out some moves. There's a question, why do I prefer e4 over d4? I gave d4 lines a try, but I just felt more comfortable with e4. I really liked the middle games of it. I really liked the openness of the position, or even if it was in a closed opening, such as French, I still felt relatively comfortable. So it's the knight over at e6 instead of d. Wait, I saw something in the chat, but I guess not. How are you doing, fake Maurice? Yeah, this one always cracks me up. Okay, people have a lot of creativity. All my usernames are like Dorsa D98 or Pishi whatever. Or alright, so I personally play this bishop e2 a lot. Now, to be fair, g3 is pretty cool. There are ideas with bishop e3 and trying to long castle. So if you're one of the people who likes to do anything except bishop e2, don't let me stop you. But for right now, I'm going to talk about bishop e2. So bishop e2, pawn moves. We get the beautiful castle. Well, I get my beautiful castle. Knight f6, and I play this bishop e3. It took me such a long time to get comfortable in this middle games and in this specific structure. So this is more of an introduction for you. You will still have a lot to work on your own, because this is a very classical line, and there are lots of classical games. I'm thinking of a specific game of Karpov, specific game of Kasparov, on. There's like this, the line that we're going to look at, it's very, very well played and well known. So please do not just take this video and go play it. You have to do more analysis and research on it. However, for the time being, first things first, if opponent plays bishop e7, this kind of turns into Scheveningen because d6 will follow, so we're not going to talk about it right now. Whoa. There's a weird b5. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think take is alright, and then you can, like f4 sounds reasonable to me because you want to start going at e5, right? And then if b4, then you can go for e5. I think that's a very reasonable response. You can also just go for knight a4 and then try to play like c3 and try to include your knight back in the game that way. So there's a lot of possibilities, but I thought it's worth mentioning. This part is worth mentioning. You can take, and whoops, not that, queen d4. Yeah, this looks kind of cool. Now, why do you think queen c2 is not a good idea? Let me ask first the tough questions. So if opponents were to do eat the pawn, which already looks weird, but why do you think queen takes c2 is not a good idea? I told you this would get weird. I'm incapable of showing games without having some weird lines in there. Nobody? The chat is so quiet. Trap the queen. That would be ideal, but that kind of feels unreasonable because the queen has that diagonal to go, that diagonal to go, back way to go. So I'm not so sure if trapping the queen would exactly be our priority at the time being. I mean, if we can do it, yeah, of course I want to, but I don't think that's actually going to happen. Yeah, exactly. Black doesn't really have that much of a development, so we want to be able to punish them for that. So I'm getting a bishop d3 suggestion. However, that is not wrong. Bishop d1 is something that's kind of winking at me. Let's say you move the queen, then I'll have this kind of cool check. Whoops. And this is just something that I was looking at briefly, but I really kind of don't want to exchange the queen, so you don't have to do that check at the moment. You could simply try to be sneaky with the rook and just develop. That's another option. Or instead of bishop d1, you could simply just go bishop f3 to avoid all these possibilities of queen exchange. And then you're just gonna, let's say queen goes away, you'll just bring your rook and start attacking there. You'll have f5s. I think this is very pleasant, and the engine agrees with me too. So that's another idea you can try to play with. So I've never been lucky enough to have that position happen to me. However, I'm very open to it. So if Anybody wants to give that a try against me, please do so. Whoops. Having long hair. Okay. So, let's say opponent is reasonable and they don't go for weird lines such as b5. So bishop b4 is the main thing to go for. Again, small heads up, opponent is capable of having a different move order to play bishop b4 before castling, and that's something that you should be aware of, but I don't have a good game of myself to show, so I'm just giving that as I just know it. It's not that dangerous. You can easily get away with it, but just know it. Alright, just know that that possibility exists. Also, I think it can be with a different move order, so it can be with like a6 first, knight out, then queen out, bishop out. And if you go bishop e3 now, I'll have bishop b4. So this is a possibility. There's so many different transpositions that can get a little headachy. Right now, yeah, like there's a bishop g5. You can also do like a cute like bishop d2. So just be aware of this existence of bishop b4 when there's no knight on c6. Okay. Now that I've given my fair warning, let's go back to the main line with bishop b4 now. So if bishop b4 now, you kind of gotta go for this knight a4, and now the opponent has few options. There is one, this bishop e7. There is one castle. Those two are the big ones. There are a bunch of other tiny weird lines. I've had people play like rook b8 against me, or take right now, or like b5 or whatnot. So let me actually ask you, what if they do take this right now? What is so wrong with knight taking the pawn? Good question from the other line that we talked about. The e4 pawn, yes, it does give it up. It's not a blunder, it's a sacrifice. But yes, it is a possibility for black to accept the sacrifice. But white still is not going to be worse. So what are we thinking of now? So they take the pawn on e4. Why is this such a bad move? Because if it was a good move, everybody would eat the free pawns, right? At least all my students hopefully would. So what are we thinking? Knight takes e4. Okay, I'm getting it. Maybe bishop f3, maybe bishop d3. Fair. Ah, there we go. I'm Annie. Now we're talking. Whoops. Bad mouse. Okay. Ah. Okay. Let's say they take over here. We were talking about take. First off, if the queen takes, your idea with queen d4, however pretty it is, it might not really work as well as you want it to. So first let's throw this in there. Then we can try to pin this guy. Queen d4 will be next. We're still going to want to do that attack. Alright, so if the pawn takes, similar concepts. We can start with queen d4 now, since there's no more queen on c6 to defend it. And this is relatively pleasant. So this is a poisoned pawn. Opponent cannot really take it. Yeah. So there are a bunch of other weird lines with like rook b8. For me personally, whenever I feel like I'm not so sure how to continue in this specific setup, I'm very fond of c4, just because this kind of transposes to Maroczy lines, Maroczy pawn structures, and opponent is just very misplaced. Even if they castle right now, whoa, maybe I can actually try to trap the bishop by c5. There we go. Yeah, I got stuff going on here too. Now, for example, like if opponent plays a totally random move, that's a possibility. d6 is also not a good choice. Why do you think d6 is not a good choice? wins it back, I guess. Wait, I don't think we're talking about the same position anymore. Yeah, Smirky Pants, funny username. You have to know what you're doing as black. There are many tricky lines there, but you truly have to know your opening. You can't just play it and learn while playing when it comes to some of these theory. C4, I'm sure C4 is doable too, but it makes more sense to start kicking the bishop because my knight here can actually get the bishop, right? And I can give you weird pawn structures. Maybe then f3. Yeah, and then I have two bishops, semi-open center, voila. Exactly, thank you, Alan. The black bishop is relatively misplaced, and I completely agree with that. So let's talk about maybe castle first. What do you think we should do? I have two personal games in this database, but I have much more. I've analyzed this so much more than I ever played it, which is hurtful. I need more opponents playing this against me. But white to move, what do you think we should do? So what's the hype about c3? I don't get it. I guess I'm seeing so many c3 in chat. Nope, we don't want to go bishop d3. Not just yet anyways. Okay, yeah, c3 does not, right now, it doesn't make much sense. c4 is very interesting. c4 is very doable as well. Now, if they take it, again, you can try to mess with this bishop. I was going to say trap it, but then I realized trapping is not the exact right thing to say. It's just messing with the bishop at this point. Because again, you can't really take it, right? Beautiful. Bye-bye bishop party. And so, yes, we are capable of trying to trap this bishop. If the bishop tries to run, now I can bring it even harder. If they try to run, now I get another pin. The concept of tempo and initiative here is just screaming at us. Okay, let me ask you. We have one less pawn. Now what do you think we should do? We have two beautiful bishops. Opponent has two. Well, this one is kind of pretty, but one tall pawn on their 8th rank. So, white to move, what do you think we should do? I'm getting a knight to b6 option suggested. Possible. What else you got? Somebody suggesting knight c3 and then they're correcting themselves. I love it. Totally. I'm totally loving people correcting themselves. Makes my job so much more easier. So much more pleasant too. I mean, this is still kind of nice for white, but yeah, we do not want happy opponents. Okay, so I'm getting a queen b3 suggestion. Doable, but queen c2 makes more sense. Just bring more pressure. Now, if like rook f7, we can bring this. Then you can try to bring this. You can just keep the pressure because black cannot develop these two pieces easily. So while they can't develop, you can try to develop as much as you can. So this is more of a waiting game at this point, but a beautiful one. And this is already +2 for white at least. So this is again a poisoned pawn. Opponent cannot easily take it. So what if they go like bishop d6 right now? Oh, that's such a hard question. Somebody's asking in the chat, is the Sicilian Khan better than the Caro Khan? I'm not sure if that's a pun because there's both there's Khan in both of them. But chess-wise, they're too different. It really depends what type of middle games, what type of pawn structures, what type of centers do you prefer to play. So I feel like it's more about your own experiences with that game. So good luck figuring that out for yourself. In this day and age, you don't actually need to read 50 books to figure it out. You can watch a video or two and see if you feel comfortable playing this as white or as black. So, oh, there's a question. Is the Khan like the Paulsen? I always use them interchangeably, but I feel like the question is with the when you play a6 or when you play knight c6, but I feel like it just transposes a lot. Alright, so good thing. Somebody's suggesting f4. Well, if f4 now, what if they just eat your pawn? Then what do you do? I'm not very big a fan of f4. I'm generally a f4 enthusiast, but not in this situation. In this situation, g3 is more forced. So because we want to be able to follow it up with c5. And if bishop tries to go away, now you're going to continue with your same ideas of developments that we talked about, possibly with the addition of knight to b6 at some point as well. But again, a lot of this game is about space and your own piece activity. So if you are somebody who prefers a more safe options, then I don't think this opening is for you. But if you're fine being one pawn down and having this amazing of a position, space-wise and piece activity-wise, then you're in the right place. Just to illustrate what I'm trying to show you, let's look at this position from white's perspective. I'm going to flip the board real quick and then look at it as black's. You can kind of already see white has so much more investment in the game than the black does. So, yeah. Well, I miss playing over the board tournaments because one of my favorite things to do was to actually get up, go behind the opponent and see what they see. It's not, you know, I'm not trying to go stand behind them and hum or poke them with a sharp nail or whatever. Please never do that. But like just actually seeing how do they feel about their position, what do they see. So that's kind of a fun thing you can try to do when you start playing over the board tournaments too. Well, Patrick, you're more than welcome to try to give another one for compensation too. All right. C4 is a definite possibility, but for me, C4 is a little sharper than I'm usually comfortable with. Again, depending on the situation of the tournament. Like if it's the last round and I need a win, well, I'm going for C4. But yeah, knight takes c6 is another completely comfortable idea. Now, first things, what if the queen takes? I'm just asking you questions. What if the queen takes that? Keep in mind, this is a double attack. What would we do? Drink a gallon of Red Bull and play e5. Well, I might actually know somebody who does drink that much Red Bull. The one thing I miss, I can't really find the specific Red Bull in the US. It was like 5-6 years ago. I was in Russia in Khanty-Mansisk, and they had this really cool Red Bulls that had like a lid that you could like screw and then close. And I loved it because I would never finish the whole thing, and I could use it, you know, a few hours later. But now here it's just all can, and it's just hurtful. So If you guys find that specific Red Bull that you can actually open the lid and close it back up, do let me know. I do want it. But yeah. Alright, where were we? So I'm getting some C3s in chat, some knight C3s in chat, some knight B6 in chat. They got discontinued? Why? This is hurtful. Okay. I've never seen it in the US though, just saying. Yeah, I'm not big on C3. It's alright, but you're kind of pushing opponent's bishop to go to a better spot. And you all know how I feel about helping opponents. I don't feel good about it. So instead of C3, how about we actually do the move with the tempo, which is super forceful. Then we do another move that is forceful. And then this guy got to move. And then, question. What now? Are we forced into actually exchanging that knight off? Or do we have another option? Bishop f3. Ah, interesting. But what if they still take it and attack your queen? I don't think this works. And it's kind of funny because I'm seeing more than just one person in chat saying it. Yeah, I don't. Bishop f3 just it's a blunder. Sorry, people. Yeah, you gotta take this horsey. They take back, and then we get bishop f3. Now this is falling. No way to stop it. Yeah. Comfortable enough? Yep. Yeah, I'm comfortable in this. I'm very happy with this position actually. And Engine loves it too, just FYI. Black is very underdeveloped. The pieces are just misplaced. So let's go back. Not queen takes c6. What if d takes it? This is not a bad move, but it's a very uncommon move. Something to b6, possibly. I'm still kind of thinking of this c4, c5 though. Let's say c4. And if they take this, now we get c5 and this bishop is busted. If they go away, this is a bishop bust, right? Yeah. So this is kind of what I want. I want to play tricky. I want to leave poisonous stuff for our opponent. Over the chessboard, just to clarify. Good God. Yeah. Oh, wait, there's a question. Bishop d3, does it work now? Are you talking about right now, bishop d3? It's totally doable, but this bishop here is active. So why not try to punish it for dreaming big? You know, bishop d3, not a bad move, but what if they go b5? Then you're gonna have to move this knight, and they can try to, you know, try to trade it, try to gain some activity around here. So my idea is to try to prevent these from happening. That's kind of like my priority right now. So c4 does make sense. Now if you go away with the bishop, now I can... Queen c2 looks appealing. Bishop d3, I think now it's time though. c5, then knight c3. b6 maybe to get this one out. Then we can go this way. But it's still, you know, it's very doable, but at the same time, it's a little bit riskier than what I was kind of going for. Oh, come on, Patrick. I'm never gonna do something like that. Alright. Alright, so let's just talk about the main line. D takes. Now what do we do? Nice one. When Dorsa sacks pawns, there's trouble in the air. Not necessarily. I'm quite stingy with my material, but at the same time, I try to keep a friendly environment over the board. I would just want to be tricky, like, hey, if you want to eat it, I'll just get a little bit more space, maybe threaten your king a little, just a little. Alright, so this is a big main line. What do we do here? Oh, I love it. F4 is a great idea. And I tried this knight b6, rook moves, take taki, and then there's this like cool bishop a6. I gave it a try, and it's alright. But at the same time, you eat this one pawn, but then your opponent starts attacking, and they'll gain the pawn back. And I wasn't very comfortable. I did give this a try. It was not my thing. I wanted more for my pawns than just being eaten. What would I say is my favorite Sicilian variation? Ooh. Scheveningen. Or Sveshnikov. Those two are always kind of cool. Dragon is fine too, but not my top choice, top 5 choice. It's too sharp for both sides, and it's too much theory for both sides. And it's hard to understand to be able to actually play without the theory. So, alright. F4 is totally cool. And this is one game that I played, but this was a specific preparation. Oh wait, I think this girl was actually American. This game that I'm showing with this F4 bishop D3, I played against, I believe, Alice Dong back in 2013 in the World Youth Championship in Al Ain. I did win the game, thank you. But yeah, I think she was American. She is American, probably, question mark, if my memory serves well. Anywho, I'm gonna show you this game really quick because I just wanted to see what a great preparation can do for you. Okay, so let's go for this. Okay, maybe not for that per se, but I wanted to play solid, and then I wanted to be able to open up my bishop. And then I continued by making sure opponent can't do much in the queen side as well, because I don't want to leave my queen side B and then just go attacking the king side, and then the attack fails, and then the queen side is not looking that happy. So okay, take, and she went for c5. I continued by rook c1, maybe a slight inaccuracy, but I was fine with it. And alright, now I'm switching the gear. I still want to hope for an attack, but if I can eat c5 pawn, I'm fine too. What is the... It can be solid, it can be dynamic. It truly depends on what white plays, what black plays, how white responds, how black responds. It's a lot of different ways to see this. Okay, queen c6 was played, and I just started to enjoy this attack. Now, this was a bad move. I didn't play the best move possible. What do you think is the best move for white right now? And I feel like Ben Feingold, when my opponent played f6, probably he would be very unhappy. How do you get better at chess? Well, first things first, you're in the right place for the St. Louis Chess Club YouTube channel. You're doing it. Calculation is a big part of it, though. It's not just openings, but yeah, thank you, people. F5. Yes. Then the king moved, you can boom that, they boom this, you can boom that, they come over here, then you can boom the other one. This is too much fun. But I was a baby, this was 8 years ago. And as I did not play f5, I did not have the same chess philosophy that I have now. And I just wanted to play something a little more solid, so I went for h3. Basically, I chickened out, to put it lightly. And then I just started to be like, no, I don't want to chicken out. I still want to attack. And my opponent helped me, but the thing is, my position was good enough that I had the luxury of playing a little less accurate than I would be happy right now. But the position is good. I have stable advantage with the pawn on c5. I have stable advantage because my pieces are more activated, but yes. Okay. So opponent rook there. I brought the bishop back. Little switch. And I started to do that, and now this is just winning at this point. Beautiful checkmate. Good job. Okay, come on, Dorsa. Why did you do that? Just take it over here. Come on, man. I just gave myself a pat on the back, but I didn't take a beautiful check. It's all right. Yeah. Anyways, this is still super winning. To be clear, rook h4, just good enough. And then I started to play a little weird. Why did I do this? Anyways, this is still good. I'm still better. Much better, to be clear. But you can easily see how my chess philosophy was different 8 years ago than now. But yeah, the position was good enough, so I didn't have just one moves to do to win it. But I would not want this for you. All right, so here my opponent resigned. I had a decent tournament to the best of my memory, but I didn't really win the medal, which is still a little sore. All right, let's go back. I just wanted to show you another opportunity. I'm gonna actually go a lot back, another lot back. Yeah, so I wanted to show you that this f4 is totally doable, and it's kind of funny. As I'm talking about it, I'm actually remembering when I was preparing it. There was like a weird university dorm room that the tournament was being hosted at. So I remember like I was sitting in like a corner and I was preparing this, and for some reason I'm craving cereal right now. Anyways, there was a lot of cereal in that university dorm rooms. So f4 completely possible. However, knight b6 is still what I play more frequently these days. Opponent can take with the queen as well, but this kind of gets a little less comfortable, but this is totally doable too. I'm just presenting multiple options to you. If you wanted to play this bishop a6, you should know what you're doing, because you are gaining a pawn, but at the same time your opponent gets to be a little more tacky than I'm comfortable with. Because this is a weak pawn, this is a weak pawn, the bishop can go back here, attack that pawn. Let's say you even play the perfect bishop to d3, and then they'll go bishop d6. And then they're attacking this, they're attacking that. And just be aware. Okay. Now, let's talk about another big line of not castle, but bishop e7. Now, in this one, you gotta take. They take, knight b6, rook b8, you take, they take. Now, if here they get weird and they take with rook, please do eat this and say thank you. If rook goes to b8, you can just come back here. If they take this, your rook is behind this pawn, so start running with it and say thank you for me. Leave a comment below if this ever happens. Alright, so I don't think anybody as black would take that with the rook, unfortunately. So let's say queen takes. Now, question for the audience. I'm assuming some of you already know this opening, some of you don't, so I think it's a good mix. Right now, white to move. What you gotta do? You have two reasonable options. One of them is my personal favorite, the other one is still pretty doable. What you think? Patrick, that's true. There's like, it's more tempting to keep your b2 pawn rather than the h2. I understand that. Whoa, g4, roar. Jesus, why am I getting so many g4s? What did I do to deserve this g4? Keep in mind, your opponent is attacking e4 and b2, so you might want to take a deep breath. There we go. So you're suggesting queen d3. Or e5, or bishop d4. Alright, I think I can live happily with e5 or bishop d4. So kind of up to you. Which one do you think we should look for? I'm a bigger fan of bishop d4 because knight e4 does not really scare me. I live for this chaos. Boom! Exactly. And I actually had one or two really cool blitz game in this, and it's so nuts. It's just like, it's bananas raining all over the board, and you can't, it's just like, it's amazing for a blitz. But if you actually do know your, if you have the option to prepare for a specific game, for a specific opponent, just make sure you do that before you go to the game. You'll thank me later. But yeah, this is one of those lines that is just gonna be a weird left and right and raining bananas and whatever. So, not whatever. So, alright. I love my brain. I do not want my brain to come out of my ears right now, so we're not gonna go over this line, but if you play this, you gotta know it. Oh, there's a cool question. How many moves in advance do you usually calculate before playing a move? It really depends on the game. End games are usually the easier because there's less possibilities, but it just really depends on how comfortable I'm with the middle game, how much I know about that specific type of middle game. There's another question. How long have I been playing this? You mean this game or this line? This game, 17 years, 35 countries. And I know it's because I've actually been writing secondaries, applications, and all those about it for the past almost a year. So I know it's my 17th year of involvement in chess. Ugh. Here's to 17 more to come. Alright. Now, I just wanted to mention this knight e4 exists. Now, as black, this is something that you could possibly prepare to try to see how much your opponent knows. Because if the opponent doesn't worship chaos, then this knight takes e4 is going to be very uncomfortable for them. Because they have to deal with your king in the center, but they can't really attack it as much as they want it. We actually did a video, I believe last year, about should you castle. I did a video about that, and I think there was a game of Magnus or two that we kind of talked about. He didn't castle, he had an amazing game. So you don't need castle to be able to play an amazing game. Alright. Oh, there's a question. Yummy, yummy. So there's a question about why doesn't he play knight c5 instead of f5? Oh, here? Because they don't want to give up the pawn, I'm assuming? Yeah, that'll do. Yep. Alright, well, thank you for the question. It's always better to ask than to wonder. Alright. So no more knight e4. Knight e4 is about possibility, but at the same time, completely up to you how much you worship chaos. Mwahaha. All right, so let's go back. So let's say they go for the good move of c5. Now, what should you do? This bishop still gotta be able to protect this guy. The knight is still attacking this pawn. So where do we go? What do we do? I don't think bishop takes f6 as a candidate, because then the bishop will take it and the b2 pawn will still suffer a lot. And why would I actually give up my two bishops? There we go, bishop e5, you got this, yep. Rook b6. And then what do you think we should do? There is a b3 which is doable, but that's not the line that I chose to play, and also not the idea, not the classic idea. And small heads up, you can find pretty cool games in this position as white and as black. So just be aware of that opportunity being there. Okay. Yeah, queen d3 is what I want. And how do I get rid of those arrows? Okay. Ah, that's what I was thinking of. Yeah, there's a nice game of Kasparov Anand, Shirov Anand, another game of Kasparov. These are like maybe 20-year-old games. Game of like Gristruk versus Polgar, Shirov versus Almasi. Oh my god, there's so many amazing games. So there's a lot of cool games here. Okay. Queen d3 is indeed the best one. My opponent went for d6. Now, why not d5? What do you think is actually wrong with d5, possibly? So what if this d5 happens? You don't have to have a specific move ready, but yeah, Pedro, I was trying to see the master games to try to name drop some cool names, and I kept wanting to say Karpov, but I can't remember. I know that Anand and Kasparov played this a lot. Okay. Yep, easy peasy. You don't want to take this just yet, because if you take and then you take, this will fall anyways. But you can definitely take this part. If the knight takes, well then yummy yummy. If the pawn takes, then you might have bishop f3s and start attacking it that way. So you have a bunch of different options that I want you to consider. So feeling good? All right, so let's go back. I think I actually played this bishop f3 once, and I was like, why did this happen? Like, I didn't fully understand why my position got a little uncomfortable, and I'm gonna show you why. Because now my opponent actually started to get what they wanted, and my bishop was a little out of place here. And I still had a pleasant game, but it started to get a little messy, and it was getting harder and harder to actually gain any advantages. So yeah, be mindful of that. All right, let's go back. I do not recommend bishop f3 any longer. I like this queen d3. d6, you gotta come back with the bishop. And now what? Now, let's say opponent castles. You have multiple options. One of them is b3, or one of them is rook d1. I'm gonna open my database of the master games. I don't know why I air quoted, but the concept of master games is kind of funny for me. I always used chess base rather than Lichess, so I'm very much used to that software and the different softwares, but okay. Not scared of ED5, maybe Queen G3. Ah, Queen G3 is a maybe. Maybe for later. Okay, I see a lot of you are suggesting Queen G3, but what would you do if D5? Yeah, I'm not so sure what would you choose if D5, so... Alright, so not D5. Not Queen G3. So, Rook D1 is nice, B3 is nice, B3 is more desired because this is a problem. Why should I give my opponent that point of pride to be able to bother me with that tiny pawn? Well, I'm gonna move it and have an evil laughter. I wish I could do evil laughters. Oh, I had a button. I'm still gonna request that button. Small button of like evil laughter.
Good luck with that.
Thank you, thank you. Who should I ask?
Good question.
Anyways, what's my favorite opening? I'm gonna go ahead and say Scotch, but I'm also gonna clarify that I don't like it as a drink. So, okay. No, B3 is good. I'm fond of B3. Now, Queen C6 was actually played in a game with me, and there's nothing wrong with it. You did play it. So, let's see. Actually, let me scroll down. I'm gonna see if I can name drop a few other cool names. There are a few cool names, but not a world champion, unfortunately. Ugh. Am I right? Alright. Queen C6 is nice, but let me go back. Bad mouse. D5 is very common as well. And for example, Anand played this as black, Almasi played this as black, oh, good friend Rapport played this as black, and a bunch of other big names. But so for D5, it happened to me frequently as well. D5, E5 is a good choice. Sorry. And then the knight moves, you're gonna swift the rook. You can also be more aggressive and bring in the queen. F4 is another possibility, which is very desired. If C4, then you gotta take it though. So I was not very happy with this idea. I still want to do F4, but I want to be able to not be forced into dealing with C4 as soon as I would. Alright, so Queen G3 is something that I would recommend for you to play. If Rook C6 right now, then you can go ahead and simply develop. This is a comfortable position. This is coming up, hopefully. Another thing to be mindful of is after this E5, there is a knight E4, but then you can just move the bishop, the rook moves, and then you just kind of mess with the structure a little. And then this is kind of a nice target for you as well. Oh, there's a question about what if Queen G3, they played F6. What if I just go F4? I have disabled that, thank you. This is different because I'm actually going from the top games. I'm trying to give suggestion from there because I really thought there was a nice Kasparov Anand game out here, but I can't see it. Ah, there it is actually. Alright, let's close this. Okay, so for example, in Kasparov Anand in 2000, they took and then take, then they got themselves into this position, which is again pretty comfortable, but that's not what I wanted. I wanted to be able to close up and attack that way. So if you want to actually be able to attack, then this exchange will not be for you. Yeah. There's not much left to do at this point. Okay, let's go back. Oh, I see some stuff in the chat. Yes. Thank you, Imani. Alright. So, let me talk about my personal game with this queen c6 as well. Then I went for bishop f3 because I still want to get f4, but my opponent is not letting me. I could be pushed into e5, but then knight d5, and then I would have to take, and then they could take, and it would get another kind of weird. So I like this idea of bishop f3. Knight goes away. Now, small moves. To be fair, this is good too, but I just didn't want to do rook d1 because or the other rook d1, same concept. Because there's this c4 that I was hoping to avoid, because now if I take, there's knight e5. If I take with queen, take, and again, this will get too easy for opponents. So in order to try to keep some spark in the game, I wanted to exchange as less as possible. So we got ourselves into this position. Oh god, I remember this. This was a game that I played in Gibraltar. Oh, this was never gonna end. I managed to win it, but oh my god, this was such a long game. You see, you have advantage because of the pawn structure, but you can't really do much about it because, okay, I actually tried to do a little about it, because this 2 versus 3 and the opposite pawns, oh good god, this is never gonna end. So, this is another option for you out there. The only way that I would say you could consider doing differently, if you wanted, instead of b3, was this rook d1, but you still have to be mindful because yes, you want to bring the queen to the other side and start attacking, but opponent is also preparing for d5, opponent also wants to maneuver, opponent also wants to do stuff in the queen side. So it's a very, very complicated position. You don't have clear advantage, but it feels like you do. Opponent doesn't have clear plans, but they have some ideas that they can do in the queen side, some ideas on how to cripple you in the king side. But yeah, it got really boring. Someday I might actually show you that game on how I had to play, however long I had to play. It was like 60 something moves to be able to, actually at the end of it, opponents blundered. But it was just such a drawish game, and I remember the exhaustion. Ugh. But I won. That's all that matters. Anyways, I'm gonna kind of leave you with this. The idea that there is, if you play good and your opponent plays good, you're both gonna get into a position that there are some options for you, some options for opponents. And at the end of the day, the more chess you know, the more skills you have, the more chances you have of winning. So not everything is opening. We use openings to get to a comfortable middle game. We want to get to a position that we kind of know how to play, and ideally we are more comfortable in that position than our opponent is. So I presented multiple ideas on how to play against main lines of Kahn/Paulsen. We're still going to continue looking into some tiny weird lines of Kahn/Paulsen next week, and then start moving it to Scheveningen, and then after that Najdorf, and then do a full circle back to Dragon and Rouser and Sveshnikov. We're never going to end this series, are we? But I do check your comments, so please do feel free to leave your ideas and your recommendations and questions and anything else below. Don't forget to subscribe. And one final note, do join us on Twitch shortly, because we're gonna do the switch to Twitch and analyze your games. So perfect. See you there.